Recently, I posted a video about Tony Khan and the AEW fanbase as a whole. If you haven't seen it, go check it out before you continue. But if you don't want to, I basically just made some points about how the AEW fanbase doesn't realize what is actually going on in the company, and how it's nearly impossible to have conversations about the product with them. The stuff I mentioned about Tony Khan was just things he lied about, or is things he's failing at as a booker. In the video, I'm going to talk about some comments that were left on that video, and give you some insight on what is actually happening in AEW. Understand this, everything I say is my opinion, and is based on everything I've seen over 20 years of watching wrestling. Just in this one comment from an AEW fan, they understand what I am saying. I can understand growing pains, and every promotion has its ups and downs. But when a promotion tells their fan base that they are better than the biggest wrestling company in the world, you instantly get held to the same standard. They can be successful with the same WWE structure, but they won't change. In my original video, I mentioned all these big names that went from AEW to WWE recently. This person is trying to tell me that all these people, except for Cody, Punk, and Cargill, are not big names. When someone leaves WWE over the years and they go to AEW or any other company, like Matt Cardona going to GCW, or Christian going to TNA, or even recently Jinder Mahal going to GCW, they are all seen as huge signings and big names. But when one of the guys leaves and goes back to WWE, they weren't a big name anymore. I remember when Samoa Joe, Chris Jericho, Jon Moxley, the Hardy Boys, and many more went to AEW, these fans saw it as a win and the best thing ever. But when they leave, it's not a big deal, and they weren't that good anyways. Try to make that make sense to anyone. Now, I appreciate him saying that I could have made something great, but in his comment, he did everything I said an AEW fan was going to do. Instantly commented before I could even get into the good stuff, a minute into a 9-minute video, and he already didn't like what I said. When I said AEW fans can't take criticism, that was 100% true. A minute in and he couldn't handle it. Now Luke, I'm sorry, but open your eyes. Since the Punk crap finished, AEW has finally been on track? Not at all. It wasn't until a month ago where Tony Khan said they were going to focus on making their shows better and focus on themselves instead of the competition. But if being on track involves maybe a couple stories and extremely low viewerships, you are nuts. When Punk was part of the company, they had well over 1 million viewers some shows, but they can barely break 500k some weeks. And don't even get me started on the attendance change since Punk left. Now, going back to Bob, this is his response to me saying that they were considered big names when signing to AEW, but with WWE, they aren't big names anymore. What I got from this whole explanation was that clearly Tony Khan cannot book wrestlers and just wasted their talent. Each person he mentioned was a flop in AEW, but when they go to WWE, they have become champions or contenders. One company can create exciting talent, and one just thinks them wrestling with no story or character development will be the thing to get them over. Now, I think Matt got a little confused while writing his own comment. He states AEW at first felt like old school Southern wrestling. He did enjoy the one good feud in AEW with the Rhodes brothers, and I like that too. He goes on about how it felt like he was watching WCW in the early 90s, but lost interest with AEW when they started overdoing the violence and had too much of the indie gimmick style, and wraps it by saying AEW just blends in with all the other indie promotions, has no style or substance. First of all, Matt, AEW has never had the old school feel. Since the beginning, they have looked and felt like a higher production indie show. Second, you are 100% correct with overdoing the violence. Using the Cody bleeding before Mania made it feel more impactful was a good example on how they should use bleeding. Should be more of a shock piece instead of a every show thing. Third, he's correct that AEW just blends in with all the other indie shows. Everything they do is what all these small promotions do to get people to come to the shows. But in AEW's case, it's not helping anything. And what I meant about catering to the hardcore fans is that Tony Khan is so focused on getting all of these people from all of these different promotions to come and perform at his show. All the really hardcore fans that enjoy every single promotion is who he is catering to, instead of the casual person who wants to watch wrestling after a long day and get engaged with a story being told and enjoy the action in the ring. The casual fans won't know who all of these people are, so they are losing interest. That's a big reason why the viewership viewership has dropped so much. This is the perfect example of someone who is a big enough AEW fan that they went to a show. What was the results of going? They didn't enjoy themselves. I'm guessing this person is a more casual fan like myself, and with all of these special things Tony tries to do makes the show not enjoyable. Having only 2,000 people in a 17,000 capable arena is insane. Having seats in the arena that can't even see the screen? Imagine spending your hard-earned money on tickets just to sit there and have to watch what's happening on your phone. And yes, I know there has been times where a light would be shining on a section during a WWE show, making it so people couldn't see. But guess what? That was fixed during the show. AEW is a glorified indie show, and no one will change my mind. Tony has zero experience when it comes to creating a show. Between putting matches together, creating promos for the wrestlers, creating good characters that are really interesting, and just creating good stories that entertain people, again, I will say it, Tony needs to leave the production side of AEW. He will never be Vince McMahon or Eric Bischoff. He has the creative talent of Dixie Carter. When Tony's Booker of the Year mindset and his awesome production style, he ruined this man's personal live wrestling experience. Now, I hope with me explaining in more detail some of these comments clears up what people thought about the last video. Stay tuned for part 3 and you will see that I genuinely want AEW to succeed, and I'm not 100% an AEW hater. Give me your thoughts about this topic, and if you enjoy story-based WWE videos, make sure to subscribe for more videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Make sure he hoards all that money so he can give it to all the new ex-WWE guys he keeps bringing in. I want you to fire me. You fucking Mark! Fire me!